It's a road no journalist has taken for a long time. Ever since Taliban fighters overran most of Helmand province 2 years ago, life under their rule has been hidden from view. Until now.
We just entered Taliban territory. We didn't have to travel far. All we had to do is get off the main road and we were in. The thing about the Taliban is you can travel here for miles without seeing an armed person. It's more the idea of the Taliban that dominate here rather than their presence.
The road takes us through the once bustling town of Sangin. More than 100 British soldiers died here. Now it is just rubble, guarded by Taliban fighters. We push on. We are heading for their capital, Musakala.
This river, the river Helmand, is what separates Sangin district there from Musakala district over there. Musakala, one of perhaps the most important centers for the Taliban, their heartland. In other words, Taliban's Kabul.
We are here for 4 days, the first international journalists in years to see life under their rule. Our ever-present Taliban minder drives just ahead of us. As we enter town, the weekly traveling bazaar is taking place. On the surface, it could be a bustling market anywhere in Afghanistan. But there are some telltale signs we're in Taliban territory. The men are all wearing traditional clothes, their beards grown long. The women are nowhere to be seen. And there are some stalls you would only find here.
So these ammunition captured from Afghan National Army, 25 cents each. AK-47, 25 cents each. And here is how supply and demand works here in the bazaar. This Russian machine gun bullet, each used to cost 40 cents. Now it has dropped to 15 cents. Because the shopkeeper says the Taliban have captured lots of them from Afghan National Security Forces.
We leave the market and drive across town to the local high school. As we arrive, the students, all boys, are doing religious studies. Our minder tells us they also study maths and science and have no problem with girls getting an education, although none do in this school. It is here we first encounter the strange new compromise on the ground. The school is run by the Taliban, but still funded by the national government.
The teachers say that there are some small changes in the way these subjects are taught in school. But from the time when these schools were burnt by the Taliban to now, where Taliban encouraged the running of these schools, is a big step forward for these children here.
طالبان په سیمه کې کوچې لږ بلا حکومت مستقبل هغه یو کرتاشیا او شان ټول مشترکي موږ د دولت ارڅ نصاب تعلیم چې هغه موږ خپل تطبیقو هغه چې طالب موږ سره کار نه لري.
In the playground, the main attraction seems to be our cameras. Most of the children have never seen anything like them. It's a reminder just how isolated these communities are. The boys that get an education say they appreciate it.
موږ یو شي کمبود لرو چې کتابونه نه لرو. نور د مکتب چې دی ټول سي دی. او موږ خوشحالي خپل استادانو ته او دا غږ ډېر غټ کومک استادانو موږ سره کړی دی چې د مکتب یې راته جوړ کړی دا مکتب چې په ولایت کې رسمي نه و همدلته مکتب و د مکتب و خو ما سره رسمي نه و.
We prepare to leave the school. For some pupils, the novelty of our visit is obviously wearing off. The drive across Musakala feels strangely normal. Our destination is the local hospital. Like the school, it is funded by the government, but run by the Taliban. It is supposed to look after 120,000 people, but lacks basic facilities.
There is no female doctor or a child specialist. You can't even have a chest x-ray here. And now the surgeon is leaving too, because he hasn't been paid in the past 6 months.
He didn't want to appear on camera, but told us how bad things have got.
فقط هغه وعده د دې چې هغه کوم سپرویژن چې د دوی وي هغه راشي د کاغذ په مخ باندې ولیکي یو عملي په اصطلاح جنبه یې نه ده غوره کړې بیرته پاتې کې راغلي وي نو دغه شفاخانه تاسو په خپل سترګو باندې به ووینئ تعمیر نیمګړتیاوې دي د دوا نیمګړتیاوې دي دغه په اصطلاح دغه ساحه دغه ټولنه جامعه چې ده تقریبا د ډیر وخت راهیسې دلته جنګونه
Do you think this system where government hospitals are run in Taliban areas, do you think this system is a failure?
Yes.
The next day we meet the Taliban spokesman. This is the closest view anyone has had of how they run their territory in years. They remain a deeply controversial organization in Afghanistan, responsible for many deaths. But they claim their approach to governance has changed.
موږ غواړو ټول دنیا سره دوستانه تعلقات وساتو او موږ چې کوم دوستي او دښمني مو هغه د الله په لار کې له هغو خلکو سره د چې په موږ یرغل راوړی دا موږ پاتې شو امارت اسلامي د ټولو مربوطه کارونو لپاره شعبې لري کمیسیونونه لري زیات کوشش شوی د چې هغه اداري نظامونه فعال شي تر خپله وسه پورې کوم ساحې چې امارت په لاس کې لري هلته د خلکو مشکلات حل شوي دي.
That evening we are taken to see what passes for nightlife in Musakala. Since the end of the Taliban's bloody campaign, some security has returned to the district. But freedoms are limited. Away from the minders, one teenager tells me he got 40 lashes for watching a Bollywood film. Mobile phones are banned for ordinary people, as is filming and playing instruments. But many rules are not enforced. This man is open about being an opium dealer. After 4 nights, it's finally time to leave Taliban-occupied Helmand.
The Taliban, they proved very effective in terms of fighting. Now they have captured huge territories in Helmand, and now they have to govern them, and that's the next challenge for them. How much they will join the modern world, and how much they will reject.
This region, where so many British soldiers fought and died, is now mostly under the control of their former enemies. Women are nowhere to be seen. But you can feel a legacy here. The idea that a government should provide public services, education, hospitals is now expected by the people of Helmand and becoming accepted by the Taliban.
Wow, absolutely fascinating and also chilling. Let's talk to Alia. I mean, you had extraordinary access. How did you get them to agree to filming in the first place?
Well, we worked on this for more than a year. And twice we came very close to going there, and then something would come up and we were unable to go. And eventually we managed, third time lucky.
Were you chaperoned the whole time? Did you feel that you were ever being manipulated by them?
Absolutely. There were one vehicle, sometimes 2 vehicles. The media team was there. They had an English speaker who was always, seeing what I was saying, and they were gently manipulative. They didn't want us to film anything to do with, to do with opiums.
Why?
We had a story about opium because they want they see themselves now as a legitimate government, believe it or not, and because they have these vast areas under their control, so they want to be treated treated with respect. They're craving legitimacy. And if, but they know on the international level, if your economy is based on opium, then you won't get much legitimacy. And this is the new thing about the Taliban. They have become image and media conscious.
Were you ever scared?
I was. To be fair, the Taliban were very gentle with us, but it was just the idea of roaming around with guys who don't mind dying. And so you think, what if suddenly decide to hurt you? What would be there to stop them? So when I came back to Lashkargah on the second night, I had nightmares.
Did you?
Yeah.
I mean, so many things strike me from that film. The lack of girls and women, the fact that people aren't free, they can't have mobiles, play instruments, can't watch Bollywood films or else she gets 40 lashes. But people do feel secure under the Taliban.
That's right. I mean, there is an analysis in Afghanistan that, Taliban's success is not due to them being, very good. It's due to the governance being poor, and especially in these rural areas, poor is to say the least. And that gives the Taliban, the edge. And also policies such as not stopping poppy harvest, also, makes people comfortable. It's in their interest that the Taliban are there rather than the government, because the government would eradicate their poppy harvest.
If you had to sum up the changes from what you've seen this time and say the last time you were there, what would you say?
Striking. I mean, only a few years ago, my teacher in Helmand province was killed because he ignored their warnings to, stop his school. So schools were destroyed in my district. But now Taliban are there encouraging schools and, sometimes building extensions to hospitals with your own money. It's a striking, difference. But I think they will face difficulties when it comes to what these people take these things for granted, and they want liberties. And these liberties the Taliban will struggle to give, because that's where they will lose legitimacy if they open their doors entirely to modernity. So it's this big to be or not to be dilemma for the Taliban of how much modernity they should, open up to.